Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, I'm going to share two stocks which stood out to me based on the volatility we saw today. Now, the way we'll start is from a broad approach, taking a look at the entire market and the volatility we saw today compared to the past 15 days, and then move into the two specific stocks. So starting off, July 12th, today's activity, we had 68 trades that hit our live scanner. The pattern you should notice here is July 5th was our peak for the past 15 days. Since then, while volatility has shrunk, we're at that stage where it's been increasing for the past 1, 2, 3 days, with July 7th being more or less even. So here we know we have rising volatility. Now let's move in to the live scanner. This is a list of all of the 68 trades that had greater than usual volatility today. Now inside of this list, there's two stocks that to me stand out, at least with today's activity. The first one is Microsoft, which appeared on our live scanner twice. The first time was for the aggressive long entry, meaning Microsoft was selling off and we were looking at buying this long entry. So that was the first trade. Now that sell-off in Microsoft continued to be so brutal, or so sustained rather, that we also saw Microsoft trigger via the conservative long level right here. I'll show you what that looks like on our charts, but the overall idea here is Microsoft had a good deal of selling, a lot of bearish activity inside of Microsoft today. So there we have our bearish bias. Now if we start by looking at a chart of Microsoft here first, this is the daily time frame. Ever since really the beginning of this year, we've been downtrending in this channel. With today's price activity, the volatility we saw, we broke outside of this trend line, this mini channel inside of this overall downtrend, where we've been climbing up for quite some time. So here, this would suggest a bearish break where we're now really looking at the bottom end of this channel to continue being breached, considering we're still in the lower half of the overall channel. Now, of course, the volatility here with CPI and PPI may bring price action up higher, where this trend line can now serve as your upside resistance as well. But the overall notion is we've broken to the downside. Now let's zoom into a 1-minute time frame chart, taking a look at price activity today, and I have both the aggressive and the conservative boxes loaded on. This is the aggressive and this is the conservative, the outer one. We can see we first hit the aggressive volatility box near 11 a.m. Pacific. After that, chopped around sideways, didn't really see any buyer step in here. We did get that V-shaped reversal pattern, which was short-lived in terms of the move we saw, before sellers resumed, and into the close here, we bounced into the conservative, which did hit that target. So the notion inside of Microsoft that I have from today's activity is a lot of bearishness that really kicked in after 11 a.m. Pacific, and that bearishness continued all the way up into the close with a very small bounce really to conclude the day. Now the reason Microsoft stands out here is if you say went to a chart of Apple, you don't see anything similar compared to the volatility we saw inside of Microsoft. Apple, dramatically lower volatility where I have to actually shrink the charts to show you the boxes. If we compare this with Amazon, same idea here, nowhere near the same volatility that we're seeing inside of Microsoft. So Microsoft stood out today from the tech stocks. Now the other stock, which I thought was interesting, and this had a bullish bias, was Boeing. If I show you Boeing inside of our live scanner, this was the first time Boeing hit the live scanner, aggressive short, and we can see Boeing also hits the conservative short a little while later. So in Boeing's case, we had a lot of bullish activity. Bulls were fully in control inside of Boeing, driving price action up higher. And if I come into a chart of BA to show you that, here with Boeing, we can see the very first breach to the aggressive short, where we did hit our first target, which is this gray target line, before buyers resumed control, taking you now into the conservative clouds, where we broke outside. We couldn't really break much higher than the conservative clouds. You even had a wedge forming here. If you connect 1, 2, and 3 points, a double top, before then price action started to sell off from there. We did break outside of the conservative clouds though, which again highlights the notion Boeing had a good deal of strength backing it. If we contrast Boeing with some of the other larger industrial stocks, say Caterpillar, didn't see the same level of volatility as we saw inside of Boeing. If you take a look at 3M here, inside of 3M, same idea, nowhere close to the same volatility. If you take a look at Honeywell, same idea here, nowhere close to the same volatility as we saw inside of Boeing. And before we wrap this video up, if I come into a daily time frame chart of Boeing, so we start with that same exercise, inside of Boeing, we've had this downtrending channel, But Boeing today, we're still breaking up to the upside in this overall mini channel where we bounced from the lower end of this channel and now really looking towards the upper end, which would take us somewhere near that 150 to 152 mark, maybe even a little higher if we tag the upper end of this overall mini channel inside of still a larger downtrend. So both charts a little bit different in terms of what the daily charts are telling us. We have downtrends, but in the case of Microsoft, we've broken below the current upwards channel. In the case of Boeing, we've continued bouncing up towards now the upper end of this channel where we're trying to tag it. So that's why these two stocks stand out to me, both Boeing and Microsoft, for a different set of reasons. They had more volatility than their peers in the same stock groups. They look different from each daily time frame chart, and each one I think is a large cap name that would be useful to play as we head into CPI, PPI volatility, along with retail sales, even though that shouldn't necessarily affect either of these two stocks, but still affect the overall market. I hope you found this video to be useful. Again, for all Volatility Box members, you can see a list of all of the live scanner trades inside of the stock platform and download the actual indicator inside of the indicator page using the link right up here or generating your own files. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and we'll see you in the next update.